everyone. I'm your host, Joel Bryce, and welcome back to another episode of Delta Waterfowl's The Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast. As a member or follower of Delta Waterfowl, you have come to know Delta as the Duck Hunters organization. Yes, we spend a tremendous amount of time and energy on duck production programs, scientific research, and habitat conservation, but we do all this great work in the name of waterfowl hunting. The future of Delta is tied directly to the future of waterfowl hunting. As a living example of the tie that binds, today's guests are from Northern Utah. We discuss an extremely effective hunter recruitment partnership that has developed between the Utah Division of Wildlife and Delta's very own Cache Valley chapter of Delta Waterfowl. Representing the Utah Division of Wildlife is Rachael Tuckett. Representing Delta are Jeff Adams, Josh Thompson, and Pace Madsen. With that introduction, let's bring in today's guests. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Utah, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to the Zoom world. It's funny. When I first started doing this podcast, I thought, well, I'll have these recording items and headphones in my backpack, and wherever I travel, I'll do a podcast. But guess what? I have done every single one of these podcasts in the COVID era on Zoom. So welcome. Appreciate it. So I do think it's worth pointing out here that it's 6 o'clock in the morning where you are. And so again, you guys must be passionate about this subject if you're going to jump on a podcast at 6 in the morning.
Very much so.
Must be. And so this is a record. 4 guests on the podcast at one time. Feel free. I know you guys are lively and energetic. Feel free to jump in, talk over top of each other. Like I said, this is, we'll call it organized chaos. So we're going to tell a story here by the end of it. And so what we're going to talk about here today, everyone, the listeners, is we're going to talk about a living example of NGOs, a non-government organization, working hand in hand with a state agency to secure the future of waterfowl hunting. I mean, so for the listeners, that's where we're going. And we're going to build a story here. But we're going to start, that story always starts with the ingredients, with the actors here. And so what we have on the podcast today, Jeff Adams, we have Josh Thompson, Pace Madsen, and Rachael Tuckett. Rachael, did I get your name right?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. So let's start. On my screen, we're going to start in the top left. Jeff Adams, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you are?
Okay, my name is Jeff Adams. I'm the regional director for the Pacific Flyway for Delta Waterfowl. Have been honored to have this opportunity for the last 4 years. Prior to this, I was the chairman of the Willard Peak chapter out of Brigham City, Utah, and was one of the founding members of that chapter in 2010. Passionate duck hunter, if you will. Have not always, as many people on the podcast and many people who are duck hunters. I'm actually a first generation duck hunter. I grew up hunting mule deer and pheasants, other upland game and whatnot. But when my son was about 10 years old, we had an opportunity given to us from a gentleman who also had a son playing on his baseball team. He invited us to go duck hunting, and my life has changed forever because of that. And very passionate about it. I've traveled quite a bit hunting ducks and have been fortunate to meet a lot of tremendous people. But I'm grateful to be able to serve all of the wonderful volunteers and all their guests here in the Pacific Flyway. I'm a father of 2. My wife and I, Jenny, we've been married about 30 years, and we have a 28-year-old daughter, Jessica, her husband, Sid, and then a wonderful little granddaughter by the name of Emmy Jo. And then our son, Justin, is about to turn 26. And life is just great and made all that much better by getting to serve with wonderful volunteers and partners such as we have here on the podcast today.
Awesome. Jeff, it's been fun to work with you. You get to the Bismarck office once a year for sure.
Yes, sir.
And then we meet occasionally out in the field. So it's been a pleasure. I do have to point out that Jeff likes to tease me. I think like most hunters, I hunt everything that I can, but one of my vices are mule deer. And so just in the last couple of weeks, he sent me some pictures of some beautiful mule deer in velvet, like right out your door, I think, right?
Within 5 miles of my home. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's not very nice, but thanks for that.
Happy to share.
Yeah, there we go. Moving across the screen, Josh Thompson. Let's get to know you.
Sure, yeah. So Josh Thompson, I husband and father. I've got four little kiddos. I am, it's interesting to hear Jeff say he's a first generation hunter or duck hunter. It skipped a generation for me. My grandfather was actually a big waterfowler, but never had the opportunity to go with him. Grew up in a home where hunting, big game and small game was a way to put food on the table, more than a hobby than anything. And personally, I've actually been hunting waterfowl for, I think it's 9 years now. I can't remember. I should have looked it up, but I got into it because my brother-in-law wanted to buy a shotgun, and his wife told him that he needed to have a reason to buy a shotgun. So over a weekend, we decided we were going to start duck hunting so that he could go buy a shotgun, and it's been downhill or uphill ever since. I've been volunteering with Jeff and Delta for again 5 or 6 years now. Got involved. Well, he was chairman down in the Brigham City chapter, and then we started the chapter up here in Cache Valley, and it's been a great time. I really love it.
That's awesome. So, okay, so you left these things out here, so I'm going to highlight them for everyone.
Please.
So you're a passionate volunteer at the same time. So you were nominated as the Volunteer of the Year in 2019. Is that right, Jeff?
As the Mentor of the Year, yes, sir.
The Mentor of the Year. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chosen as the Mentor of the Year for that particular chapter, which is awesome. So for the listeners, we have several hundred chapters, and we call our recruitment program that's run by chapters First Hunt. And so a couple of years ago, we gave each one of the chapters an opportunity to nominate someone in their community, could be on the chapter, maybe not, and say, this is our Mentor of the Year. And that was Josh. So of all the people that Jeff, you could have chosen, you picked Josh, and Josh, we're lucky to have you and appreciate that passion. And I think this is a neat story that we're telling.
Thanks.
Hey, you're welcome. Okay, moving around. Let's see. We're going to go. Rachael, I can't make you go last. Rachael Tuckett, let's get to know you.
Okay, so I'm Rachael Tuckett. I work for the Division of Wildlife Resources. I've been working with the division since, 6 years now. So 2015. I work up in the Northern Region office. I am the wildlife recreation specialist. So I do public events, public outreach events for hunting and fishing and shooting sports. And then I also run the walk and access program, which is where we lease private property for hunting and fishing access, to give hunters more opportunities. I was lucky and fortunate enough to grow up with a dad that's been a lifetime hunter. So I was a daddy's girl growing up, was constantly hunting, or I grew up in shooting sports. I did a couple of youth shooting sports is kind of what led me into the division. One of the programs, it was an NRA sponsored event called the Youth Hunter Education Challenge. And in the state of Utah, the Division of Wildlife takes on that and does the state events. And so I was able to start to get to know a lot of division employees at that time. So then when I went into school and I graduated from Utah State University in wildlife biology, it was kind of my foot in the door, knowing the hunter education and shooting sports staff. I'd known them, all my life. And so it's been really fun to come kind of full circle. And now I'm in a position where I get to help run those youth shooting sports. So yeah, it's been a really fun job. I am now a mother of 2. I just had a little girl in June, and then I have a little boy who's 2.5. So, and my husband loves to hunt. When we're not running kids around or we have a babysitter, we like to go fishing and hunting. And yeah, it's just great. I love that I have a career around something I'm so passionate about. And then I get to work with, awesome people like Jeff and Josh, and get to meet people like Pace. This has been a really fun program to do, this First Hunt program, and kind of see people start with not a lot of knowledge about hunting and then turn into an example like Pace where they become a lifelong hunter. It's really fun to see.
That's great. So Rachel, just I had a question kind of pops to mind. It's just more curiosity. So you said that you
Yeah.
deal with hunting and fishing and shooting sports, outdoor rec. What percentage of your time do you think you devote to hunter recruitment?
Um, as far as my job goes,
Yeah.
there. So the walk-in access program in the northern region is a lot. We have a lot of properties enrolled up this way, and so I spent quite a bit of time in that, and probably a little over 50%. And then the other half of my job is doing these recruitment, rather, that is for hunting or fishing or shooting sports. We try and do events that hit all of those. So stuff like this first hunt program I really enjoy. We do some seminars that talks, like how to, as far as like duck calling goes, or how to fishing clinics or something. But these events where we actually get people out hunting with experienced hunters is something that I've really enjoyed, and we're seeing a lot more success.
That's awesome. So we lost Pace.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back.
He fell
Uh,
off.
he-
He totally fell off. He disappeared. But
And it was
he'll
his turn too, doggone it.
It is. It is that, I trim horse hooves as a just kind of a side gig, I would say. And so we get a really rough horse, and I always like a rough hoof. And we said, oh, we should have done that one first. But so maybe we should have done Pace first. But we'll bring him back in here. And as soon as he pops back in, we'll give him his shot at an introduction. Okay, so we have the ingredients minus Pace. Sorry, Pace, when you listen back to this one. But what we're going to tell here is, so again, this story that we're telling, it's taking place all across North America. There are individuals and there are groups of people who have decided that they want to make a difference and help secure the future of hunting, and in this case, waterfowl hunting. And so it's no secret, anybody that follows Delta, reads our magazine, listens to this podcast, we've talked about it a lot. Let's just use the word a lot instead of trying to find a more sophisticated word. Number of hunters are on the decline. Outdoor users perhaps maybe are on the incline, but hunters, waterfowl hunters in particular, are on the decline. And so this is a story. This is an effort to in the Logan, Utah area, to bring new hunters to the fold and then contribute again to that secure future of waterfowl hunting in North America. So in this case, it all starts with a chapter. And so I want to, Jeff and Josh, I would love to know, chapters self-identify and say, hey, we want to organize a group of individuals and be a Delta Waterfowl chapter. We want to raise money and we want to spend some of that money locally. Josh, I want to hear from you. What's your motivation? Or maybe if possible, can you speak for the motivation of the committee? Why do you guys exist as a Delta chapter?
We exist because I think it's a lot of, I think one of the taglines of Delta is like make a difference. And I would say that that's a big reason why we exist as a chapter. A couple of the people that started the committee, I think, Ben and Kevin, we were actually all participating down in the Box Elder committee. And Jeff actually proposed the idea, I think before you were the chairman, of saying, hey, we should start a chapter up in Logan. And selfishly, I'll admit that to not drive half an hour to committee meetings was a motivator. But just being able to give back to duck hunting, and also an opportunity to work and think about waterfowl during the off season was really attractive. As far as the first hunt type of thing goes, waterfowling quickly became a passion for me, like just almost all encompassing. Absolutely loved it. So many different aspects of it. And I don't know, I just personally had a really big desire to share that with others. One of the things that I like to tell people is there's only two types of people in the world. There's those who love duck hunting and those who haven't tried it yet. And because of that, I really wanted to get out there and share this with people.
I love that story and I love that passion. I do have to ask the question, and so I'll just spell it out. Jeff, this must be a huge conversation starter when you know, are in a new community. WHF, we call it the Waterfowl Heritage Fund. And so chapters hopefully love what Delta Waterfowl does. You organize, you have a banquet, you make some money, you know, and the bulk of that money goes to support Delta Waterfowl's mission. But this part I love, 15% of those funds you're able to spend locally. You can do recruitment events, you could do nest structures, scholarships, you know, and a other long list of things. And every chapter has that opportunity. The more you raise, the more you have to spend locally. Josh, so, you know, you believe in Delta, you believe in Delta's mission, but that 15% to spend locally, that must be a huge driving factor for any Delta chapter.
Oh, absolutely. To be able to know that we're supporting the larger Delta mission, while also knowing that we can spend some of these funds locally to make improvements, whether that's in hunter recruitment or building blinds or you know, wood duck boxes, things like that. Like, to be able to see in my community the money and the funds coming here is super impactful.
No, yeah, that's amazing. Hey, Pace, we got him back.
I am back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We missed you, and we were a little worried. We're sending out a search party, but we found you. So we skipped over you. Pace, we want to learn. We will learn about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Pace Madsen. I've grown up here in Cache Valley my whole life. Really, I've been into shooting ever since I was a kid. I'd go out with my family. We'd go, you know, just shoot clay pigeons, rifles, pistols, whatever it might be. And then I got involved or introduced to Delta a year ago, and there was the first hunt last year, and was involved a little bit from there, just getting into duck hunting. Josh also got me out to, was it the waterfowl warm up? I think out at the shooting range here in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty funny. Josh was like, yeah, relating all these different scenarios to ducks coming in. I was like, this is a lot of fun. Like, if I can do this with ducks, I need to get into this. So got into duck hunting last year. I like how Rachael already mentioned that I'm a lifelong hunter now. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I am a first generation hunter in my family. I think the closest thing is maybe like grandpa being a dairy farmer. So aside from that, first year, just getting into it, did some upland game. I've also done a little bit of small game with some bunnies before as well. But yeah, first gen, Josh got me to the Ogden banquet here a few months ago and saw more of what Delta was about and decided that this is a pretty sweet organization. I need to get more involved.
Well, appreciate that, Pace. We're glad to have you. And, you know, it's everyone has to start somewhere. And that's the whole point of the mentored hunts that our chapters offer and that Delta Waterfowl offers. So we're glad you took advantage of it. Glad you found it of value. So, okay, so if we're talking about the ingredients to this story, we have a chapter. We have a chapter who raised funds for the organization. Now they have a pool of funds that they can spend locally. This particular chapter is very active in R3. First hunt is what Delta Waterfowl calls it. So now, Rachael, there's a state organization or state agency, Utah Division of Wildlife, that you represent. What I'd like to know is, so what's the value for you when there, and there's other NGOs, you know, that have different interests than waterfowl, but let's speak to this particular chapter. What's the value of an organized group of individuals like this particular chapter? What's their value to you?
So for us, you know, we do all of these events, you know, to recruit hunters, and we have for a very long time. It's usually, like I said, it's usually like these how-to videos or these hunting 101 seminars, sorry. But there's a huge value in actually getting hunters boots on the ground out with experienced hunters like Josh, like Jeff, like people who are passionate and know what they're doing. And so, you know, for a lot of years, did all of these kind of one-day events, which were great. People would get excited about it, but then we'd never know what happened after that. We'd never know if they were able to connect with somebody who had the experience to take them out in the knowledge, you just didn't know. And so we had talked about in the division for a while, just in different meetings of, we need to get an NGO on board from the beginning to help us, if that starts at a hunter education class, if it's hunter education graduates and we start in like kind of a classroom setting, but we need help with getting these people out and actually going hunting. And then luckily I know Jeff Adams really well, just lives across the street here. And so when he started working with Delta, we kind of started chatting, and then it all just kind of came into place that, we started this first hunt program up in Cache Valley. And I feel very fortunate enough to have been able to be involved in this and see kind of from the beginning, and people like Pace that get excited, because from the division standpoint, like I am not very knowledgeable in duck hunting. Luckily, I have a good friend Jeffrey over there that he's helped me, he's taken me and my husband to get our first swans, layout boat hunting, all of that. But like, because I don't have enough of experience and knowledge, I couldn't take these people out and give them all the tools they needed to get started. And that's kind of, I'm not speaking for all state employees, but some of us, I'm very experienced in big game hunting, but not so much in waterfowl hunting. So to be able to connect with a waterfowl organization like this and create these partnerships, it helps us in recruiting hunters, because we're connecting them with people that they need in order to get going and get, excited about it.
Well, there's only so many of you, right? And so
Right.
let's say you were the best, most badass waterfowl hunter in the world. You can only take so many people, right? And so you have basically a peer group now that you can partner with to take people on these mentored hunts or the waterfowl education days. Jeff, this must be doing your heart well, huh? You must be feeling good about this conversation. These are people that you've brought together. That's what we talk about here when we talk about, R3 hunter recruitment. We always say you can't do it alone. And all the ingredients for someone to become a hunter, Pace, like yourself, they're out there. I just think that most people who are new to hunting don't really understand what is it going to take. And so with a partnership like this, Rachael, you can help or facilitate hunter education classes. Someone in this network of people can set up, a day at the clay target range, mentored hunts, educational expos. Rachael, what are some of the things that your agency brings to this? Is it hunter education? Do you have a trap range or instructors that you use?
Yeah, so hunter education, and then for this first hunt program, we have a division-owned public shooting range over there in Cache Valley. And so we kind of set up our range day or like classroom day over there. So we schedule it over there. And then on our state property over there, we have a couple of ponds over there. There's one that has a blind. And so we do most of the hunts we do over there. There were some members that took the participants out on their duck boats out to a marsh close by there, but we're able to do a lot of these hunts from these ponds on our state facility behind the range when it's not open, obviously. And so we're able to use that. There's a lot of ducks coming in, so that's been really good to have that as a place to take these hunters. There's no other hunting going on there except for when we bring them there. So
no, that's great. We'd absolutely appreciate that support and the partnership and putting it all together. Jeff, now let's take another step here. Jeff, you've been kind of quiet, so I'm going to bring you in here. So when we're talking about first hunt, okay, so that's when a Delta chapter actively engages people who don't hunt and tries to recruit them into the sport, we call that first hunt. That's also under the umbrella R3, which is the recruitment, retention, and reactivation of hunters, in this case, waterfowl hunters. Jeff, why don't you describe to me kind of what is this chapter's first hunt effort? What does it look like?
Well, this chapter's first hunt effort, I will throw in that not every committee member on this chapter, and I'll say not on most chapters, is going to share that same passion, say as what Josh has or I have, of being a part of the first hunt program within their chapter. Their passions might be different. Some folks' passion is along the nesting box side and whatnot. And so we try to find those talents and those interests within our committees, and then build subcommittees, if you will, off of that, and be able to invest our WHF funds in a manner that helps to take care of each group within the committee's interests, if you will. Now, in this particular chapter, I would say it's about 70-30, if you will. 70% of the committee is very interested in, and they're all interested, but they're devoted, if you will, to being able to help new hunters get out in the field. We have a father by the name of Cameron and his 3 boys that we could have had on this as well. And I'm sure Josh would agree with me and Pace as well. They are very passionate about helping and getting new hunters out and helping with the university hunt program, which is coming up in their area. But in this particular chapter, it has, I will say, for the first year that they held this, which was 2019, if I'm not mistaken, Josh, it was a collaborative effort between Rachael with the division, Josh in Cache Valley, myself over here in Box Elder County, and a couple of other committee members that was able to already have relationships with people who wanted to get involved with waterfowl hunting, from kids, I'll say, gosh, I would say that Mason was probably our youngest, and he was probably 10 or 11 at the time, all the way to adults that Josh knew and Rachael knew. And we were able to bring them all together, and we had a mixed bag of age groups, if you will, male and female, our first year. And then the second year, the group was smaller, but it was, if I'm not mistaken, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was mostly all adult onset hunters, as we call them in the R3 world. And Pace was one of those. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the youngest person we had last year in your chapter's first hunt event was a 19-year-old young lady who was actually dating one of the committee members at the time. Does that sound about right, Josh?
We did have one new hunter that brought his son along.
Oh, that's right.
That came out, and I believe his son was about 10 as well.
That's right.
Actually,
Dad's name was Chris.
went to one of Rachel's pheasant hunts later on and really enjoyed that. So really was, yeah.
No, I think, yeah. So in this particular, I'm having a logjam in my brain of these great things that I want to talk about, but I can only pick one. So I'm going to pick one. And so let's continue down this path here really fast. So chapters, first hunt event. Jeff, you kind of described this to me, and I'm going to kick this back over to you, Josh. Jeff was telling me that it's a 2-part event, at least a 2-part event, starting with an educational aspect, right? So can you describe that portion of the event to me?
Yeah, so we wanted to have a little bit of classroom time, so to speak, and then range time for a lot of reasons. One, to help us as mentors feel comfortable with those that we were going to be taking out, and also a lot for the mentors for the new hunters coming in to be able to have an idea and get together and see there's other people going on with duck hunting. So for the education, we tried to keep it pretty basic, like, hey, here are ducks. They are going to fly this way. You need to lead them. Here's some different species. Here's the proclamation, things like that. Just trying to keep a real basic idea to bring some comfort level. And then we did go out on the range and got some comfort level with handling a shotgun. You know, we had a variety of people come. We had people like Pace. I'll admit Pace has always been a much better shooter than me, so he didn't need the time on the range. But then we also had people who had not handled the shotgun before. And so we did, we wanted to let them have that experience before it was time to pull the trigger on a bird, get some familiarity out on the range.
Okay, so that's really important, to just take someone brand new. Rachael, you must think about this all the time, or even reflecting back on your own. So you could be interested in hunting, but maybe you've never handled a firearm before. And so maybe you want to learn some of that general theory Rachael, that's firearm training, that's a big part of your life. So, or at least your past. Do you feel like that general introduction to how to handle a firearm and shoot a firearm, do you feel like you can effectively teach that, in that particular, that one-time event before a hunt?
Yeah, I think we can. We had a few people that were kind of struggling, and so we just asked, maybe find another time to come back over and practice a little bit more. You can either come over here or come over somewhere else, but I think it's really important that you get comfortable with your firearm before you go out there to have a successful hunt and have a good time. So yeah, we did encourage a few people to, practice a little bit more, and I felt like some did come back and felt a little bit more comfortable. Some still need practice, but that's how it always is. I still find myself now when we go out that I'm like, all right, I'm a little bit rusty. I need to get back out there and practice. So I think it's important to be comfortable and be confident in order, to go out and make a good ethical shot. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I think, if I'm comparing what you folks do to other types of first hunt events that are out there, this is really unique in the sense that, one, you have the educational aspect separated by a few weeks, as I understand it, from the actual mentored hunt itself. And for these individuals, Rachael, to be able to come back and try it again, have opportunities to become more comfortable, maybe more proficient. And then hopefully when they're given that opportunity to harvest, they're able to bag a bird or two. And so I think that's a real special situation. Pace, you don't realize this, but you're kind of special in the sense that most, yeah, see, he's smiling. He knows he's special, but in the sense
My
here,
wife tells me that all the time.
there you go. There you go. But in the sense, a lot of has been involved in R3 since before it was called R3, over 20 years. Anybody that's been in R3 for that length of time has a strong focus on kids. Kids are awesome. You take a kid fishing, you could teach someone in an hour how to fish for the rest of their life. Hunting is a little bit different. Waterfowl, Jeff, maybe more in particular, you take a kid, you could instill into that child you could instill in them such a passion for hunting, but there's challenges in that they can't drive. They have other things. They don't have money. And so it's really challenging. So if they come from a family of non-hunters and don't have access to a mentor, it's difficult for them to continue hunting. And so if a chapter does say, we're interested in recruiting youth, we say, do it all day long, but you need to stick with that young person many, many times before they grow up or have that support group to go hunting on their own. Pace, you're a living example of kind of fast track waterfowl hunter. So, you said you hunted rabbits a few times, but your first opportunity to hunt waterfowl was a participant at this chapter's first hunt event. Is that right?
Yeah, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into at that time either. It was just kind of Josh invited me to come out and attend this little classroom session. Just kind of spiraled from there.
Yeah, we call you it sounds like a disease. You're an adult. Yeah, you're an adult onset hunter, and meaning that you learned as an adult. But when I say that you're special in that, you attended one of these events and you picked it up as a passion really fast. And so that's what's special. And so I think you're a great example of if the focus of a recruitment effort is on adults, retention, like making a new hunter, can be as fast as someone like you. You went from being a participant in this event to now a retained, and you've said it, you're going to be a lifelong waterfowl hunter. And then you were hooked by it so aggressively that you said, hey, I want to be a part of this group of people. I want to be part of this chapter. So Pace, let's let you cover the mentored hunt itself. And so again, we talked about, there was some of the front end educational stuff, some time at the range with Rachael and others. The hunt. Tell us about the hunt, Pace, that you participated in.
It was pretty special. Something that's helped me in this whole journey too is someone there with me. So Josh has been there for a lot of the time. And part of that first hunt, it was interesting. Josh and we went out that morning to set decoys up for that first hunt at the blind that's behind the public shooting range here. And we set them out, and Josh was like, all right, well, we'll just hang out for a minute and see if any ducks come in. It's like, all right. And then this duck came in, and I was pretty dang proud of myself. It was first shot, first kill out on this blind behind the shooting range. And from there, I mean, I was full of adrenaline, ready to go. And then we went out that night with a different group of people. Rachael was there, Jeff was there. And then we had another committee member, Aaron Doolin. He was there as my mentor in that hunt. And it was great. I've known Aaron, so it was really nice to have someone there that I knew I was really comfortable with shooting, and hung out in the blind and was able to get to know everybody else a little bit more, and waiting for the ducks to come in, and they came in. We got a couple more.
So it sounds like yeah, that's one of those, I call them flashbulb experiences, in that it paints a picture in your mind that you'll never forget, right? You have that,
Oh, yeah.
you have that mental photograph. Rachael, Pace described something. And so as someone who as part of your profession tries to draw people into hunting, waterfowl hunting, Pace, you said something there, maybe you didn't realize it. You talked about the people that you were around, the social aspect. Rachael, do you find people, big game hunting is less social? It's more quiet, more sneaky, of course, right? But waterfowl hunting, one of the great aspects of it, as I think as an introductory experience to hunting, is that you can move up until the time that the ducks come. Josh, you can eat snacks. You can talk as a, Josh, I didn't mean and point the snacks comment at you. I'm just, geez, that came across really bad. First time I've met you, and I'm calling you the snacks guy. I didn't mean that. So
He is, though. That's the funny thing.
is it the snacks guy? I didn't know that. Hey, okay, so then I'd feel terrible. So I have to point out, Josh, you're actually the 2019 Delta Waterfowl Mentor of the Year, of all mentors. Not only the chapter's Mentor of the Year, you're Delta Waterfowl's Mentor of the Year from 2019. So apologies for the snacks comment. I didn't mean it that way.
No offense taken.
Right. Well, then and then as a mentor, you're able to, it's more controlled. You're able to sit over the shoulder. But Rachael, can you compare to me some of the other introductory types of hunting, and how waterfowl kind of sets as a great introductory experience?
Yeah, I think what makes waterfowl hunting, and we've also here in the state of Utah, we've tried to do, we do first hunt pheasant hunts, beginner pheasant hunts, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But we've just feel, especially in the state of Utah, the opportunity. So state of Utah, you have to draw a deer tag, and an elk tag gets sold out that day. So as far as the opportunity for ducks hunting, you think it's a long season, right? You can go out multiple times. So whether it's waterfowl hunting or pheasant hunting, that's a great first step, because there's a lot more experience, a lot more opportunity to go out there. I feel like your chances of being successful maybe are a little bit better than big game hunting. So it was interesting with the pheasant hunts when we were talking about these adult onset hunters. Forever in the state of Utah, we always did these youth beginner pheasant hunts, always and forever. A couple of years ago, we decided to open it up and do some adult sessions. And then last year we went and did some women's sessions. And we've had a lot of success in that, with people coming and being like, hey, I'm in college. My parents never hunted, grandparents never hunted. For years, all it's been is youth. Like, thank you for the opportunity as an adult, realizing that we need somewhere to start too, right? Like, we haven't had as many opportunities. So this first hunt, along with other things, we have seen great success in giving this opportunity to adults. The women's pheasant hunt session we did last year was a blast. Same thing. And so I don't know, I think that's one thing I've liked partnering with Delta Waterfowl, is we kind of have that same thought of, we need to get the adults out. If we get them started and they have kids, if they're already lifelong hunter, those kids are going to be raised up and to go out hunting too.
That is a good point. We do say that often, that I guess that's another aspect of recruiting adults, is that there's an urgency to recruiting new hunters. And so when you recruit someone like Pace, you said you're married. Do you have kids?
We got one on the way here in December.
One on the way. So quite likely then you're going to introduce your your child to hunting. And so self-replication is kind of what we call it, right? So if we want to, I learned from Rachel, you just said you learned from your dad. I learned from my dad, he learned from his dad, so on and so forth. It would have been weird for me not to be a hunter. So I call that kind of the hand-me-down tradition of hunting. Pace, you're going to be able to do that, right? And so we need to kind of reinstate that tradition of handing down hunting from generation to generation. Josh, how are you feeling about this conversation, this experience? This must be rewarding. I mean, this conversation wouldn't be possible without your leadership and volunteer efforts. Talk about that.
I mean, it wouldn't be possible without a lot of people. I want to make sure that's. I mean, like I'm super happy to be here, but like Jeff was mentioning, like we've got the Reeds and Doolin helping out and things. But it is super rewarding. You talk about, sometimes there's the life cycle of a hunter, right? Where they go through the different stages and there's different priorities. To be honest, I'm not that great of a duck hunter. I really enjoy it, but it's a rare day that Josh fills a full bag. I haven't hit that stage in my hunter cycle yet, but taking new people out is super rewarding. I love seeing people grab a hold of the passion. Pace and I haven't fully compared notes, but I would not be surprised if he made it out as much or as more times than I did last year. And I couldn't be happier about that. Just being able to see that and other people join the sport, it's very rewarding.
That's great. Pace, you're just a year or two removed from your first waterfowl hunting experience. Do you go on your own?
There was just a couple times I went on my own. I've got another friend here in the valley. He's not part of the chapter, but I would go. Yes, yet I'm trying. But we'd go out pretty much every weekend this last duck season, and that's where a lot of my hunting also came from. Was my friend there.
Okay, that's good. That's a wonderful part of it. Again, the social aspect. I think everyone knows someone who's a hunter and just kind of need to be either I guess, become confident enough to ask someone to take you. That's a great thing. We have a guidebook. We call it the First Hunt Participant Handbook. And really when someone participates at a Delta Waterfowl event, we want them to have that handbook. And it's full of tips on how to kind of lead your own destiny. Who are the people in my community that maybe I can reach out to and ask them to take me hunting? How do I find land? How do I go about those things? And so I'd encourage everyone to jump on our website, find that particular document and be like Pace, get out there and chart your own path. Rachel, I do want to talk about something so I hunt as many things as I can fit into a fall. And so if waterfowl hunting for whatever reason wasn't available to me in a particular year, I'm still a hunter. I'll go deer hunting. I'll go turkey hunting. So maybe in some parts of the world, people lose a lease, or in your part of the world, I don't know, let's call it drought or some areas blocked off. I think that the more types of game that someone can hunt, as a hunter, I think they're more secure. They're going to be a hunter indefinitely by having the different options. If you move, maybe you'll pick up something in a new location than what you did before. Rachel, what are some of the other programs or opportunities in your area where, for example, the Delta chapter can introduce someone to waterfowl hunting? I love to hear of situations where those people are, I'll call them roadmapped out to other types of experiences. Maybe they can go on a deer hunt, a pheasant hunt, or some other types of hunting experiences. Can you speak to that at all, Rachel? Do you try to help people diversify?
Yeah, so as far as taking people out hunting, we have this with Delta, and then we do a pheasant hunt with Sportsmen's for Fish and Wildlife, and we do those hunts. So the first time duck hunting kind of is only happening that I know of in our northern region, but the pheasant hunts with Sportsmen's for Fish and Wildlife happen statewide. We have, a hunt up in our Ogden area, and then there's multiple down south. And then from there, that's where all of statewide, we do other hunting type seminars. But for the Division of Wildlife, we've been mainly focusing on doing events and seminars where there's more opportunity. So because we have so many people putting in for big game hunting, and because you have to draw out on a deer tag, you know, and elk tags are now selling out, and then our, you know, more trophy style, our limited entry tags are all a draw. The division wants to focus more on upland game, turkey hunting, waterfowl hunting. So we do a lot of events around that, because we think, okay, if we can recruit them to start with ducks, get comfortable, you know, then they're so passionate about that they will go in turn to do big game hunting. So that's kind of the opportunities around here. And then one thing I want to mention, that if we have what's called the trial hunting program in Utah. So say somebody never took hunter education, didn't grow up in hunting, and they're just not sure about it, they can go on and be a trial hunter, and they don't have to have hunter education, but then for 3 years they can try out hunting. They do have to have kind of a mentor with them, but that is an option in Utah that we've kind of done.
That's an impressive program, because I struggle to picture a world where hunting is not part of my motivation. So if I try to clear that from my mind, I could see it as a very intimidating activity. You know, maybe I'm intimidated by firearms, maybe I'm intimidated by harvest, or maybe I'm intimidated by, what am I going to do with that that game, whether it's a bird or maybe more overwhelming, a deer. What am I going to do with that? And so I think that opportunity to apprentice or try it before you take that huge investment of your time and effort. And also I think that trial opportunity, it probably feels more welcoming, right? It's to try it out. So I commend your agency for having that opportunity. And I know a lot of other states do. So I do want to point out here that, you know, the entire discussion that we've had, Jeff, it's a huge partnership effort. And this is something that Delta chapters across the United States and Canada they have this opportunity. You know, they have a banquet, they raise money, they have a local pot of money to do things. If anyone's listening to this podcast and you're thinking, wow, I don't know of a Delta chapter in my area, and I love what I'm hearing, you know, we have regional directors like Jeff. That's their job, is to welcome you, help you organize, help you raise some funds. And then this is what warms my heart. I'm a program guy. I like doing things. You know, Jeff, you make the money, I like to spend it. And so, you know, I spend it on programs, first hunt, nest structures, you know, and research and you name it. So if anyone's interested in this, you know, jump on Delta's website. You know, we do have a staff page of regional directors, and people like myself are on there. You can reach out to any one of us, and we'd love to have you. We'd love to have more of these stories where local impact is taking place, because that's, you know, if we want to secure the future of waterfowl hunting, it's going to take grassroots effort. It's not going to take one organization or one agency to fix it. This is a grassroots solution. We need it. Josh, I see you nodding your head there. You must agree with that. Do you feel that way?
Oh, 100%. Like the success that we've seen here is because it's such a group effort, all those pieces to the puzzle. I liked how you said that, like, hey, all the ingredients exist. It's just getting them all together, and it can happen. It does happen.
Well, I think it's authentic too, right? These are people that see all of you in the community. You know, maybe it's soccer practice, maybe it's football, maybe it's church. It's more authentic. And I think that when you're the one hosting it and not someone from an outside community coming in, it's got to be more welcoming, more authentic. And I do think it's lasting at the same time. And so I hope that your community recognizes the work that you do and wants to be a part of that. So Jeff, do you have any kind of thoughts here that you want to, put an umbrella over this conversation?
You know, I was just going to throw in a little bit more, if I may, regarding what Rachael was talking about with the Trial Hunter program. We have had some people come in to be a part of this first hunt program, and others that don't necessarily have time to go out and get that hunter education piece done, regardless of their age. I mean, I've done this with 12-year-old boys all the way up to adults, and we've been able to alleviate that stress, if you will, of man, I'd really like to be a part of this program and learn how to hunt ducks and be a part of this, but I don't have time, or maybe time just isn't going to fit in the calendar, whatever it may be. We've been able to have them go online, and here in Utah, it's 8 simple questions that they have to answer on the Division of Wildlife site. And then from there, they get a customer ID, if you will, and they're able to get a hunting license for 3 years. And they do have to go out with a mentor, as Rachael mentioned. They have to be 21 years or older. But we've been able to introduce people here in our state to duck hunting and be able to continue their passion. I'll share an example of a couple of brothers, if you will. One of them's now 16, the other one's 14. The one that was 14 knew that he wanted to be a part of this. And Rachael and I both have big influence with this family. And the 14-year-old, who is now 14, he was probably 12 at the time, he went through hunter education, but his older brother was involved with other things and couldn't go through hunter ed. And so we got him set up so he could participate in the Cache Valley chapter's first hunt program by going through this trial hunter program. Now, his interest level is nowhere near that of his younger brother, and I'll say even of his older brother, who we also got involved in hunting, because they come from a non-hunting family. And so between Rachael and I, we've taught these kids how to hunt and fish. And then it falls to me, quite frankly, to get them out at times when their mom can't take them to a local marsh and drop them off and wait in the car for them to go out with friends and whatnot. But many states throughout the United States have a trial hunting program. And I just want folks to know of the value of that, because it can save people time. It allows them to dabble, if you will, into a possible new passion, and quite frankly, a way to provide food for your family. And so it's magnificent. I just want to give a shout out to Josh for his incredible passion. And when I say incredible, Josh has incredible passion for ducks and duck hunting. He's just a spectacular volunteer for his chapter and a great example to others. To Rachael for her passion and willingness to always be involved with our chapters, regardless of what we're doing. And it's been so cool to get to know Pace and to see him come full circle in just a year. Something that hasn't been mentioned is that last year through COVID, we were not able to have banquets in most of our chapters. And Pace, having such a desire to get out there and hunt ducks, he actually asked Josh and other committee members, what should I buy for a shotgun? And he went on and participated in one of our online auctions and was able to win one of those Weatherby Elements from a Delta Waterfowl auction. And that's his shotgun that he goes out hunting with. And so, I don't know, the whole story of Pace and people like him is just wonderful. First hunt is such a big part of Delta Waterfowl. And it's just been an honor to be a part of it with these folks.
Thanks for that, Jeff. That was a very personal description for each one of those individuals, and I see it as well. I guess we'll start to move this towards the end here, but I can't thank you all enough. Josh, I know I respect so much. I have 2 kids, busy lifestyle. I respect so much the fact that you take your personal time outside of work, outside of family, and give. And so I can't thank you enough. I have tremendous respect for that. Pace, thank you very much for joining the podcast, for coming into hunting. I mean, it sounds like your story is just beginning, but I think you were meant to be a waterfowl hunter. I mean, you just to you took to it so quickly, and then to know that your shotgun that you're carrying around in the fall has a Delta connection as well. I think it was just meant to be. Rachael, I do think that your Division of Wildlife is lucky to have you, as you're a great ambassador. It's not only has it been a part of your life, and so it's your opportunity to give back, but I'll have to say you're very welcoming. You're a very comfortable
Oh,
person to
thanks.
talk to, and so I think they're very lucky to have you. Jeff, as always, it's a pleasure working with you. I can tell, you work with chapters to help organize and fund Delta's programs, but you're one of those people that I say, yeah, I think Jeff does that so he can work on First Hunt and other programs. So it's a means to an end for you to give back. If listeners have questions for anybody on this podcast, I'm going to keep it simple. We have a dedicated email address. It's called podcast@deltawaterfowl.org. Send that email. It comes to me, and then I will distribute it to any of our guests. If you have questions or want to reach out, I'm not going to overwhelm any of you with or dumping out your cell phone numbers or email addresses. So let's do that. podcast@deltawaterfowl.org. And again, I really appreciate this time. This is, I'll tell you, it's just a little after 7 a.m. where you guys are, and just a little after 8 a.m. where I am. And so these are very motivating conversations to me. So I'm going to be on cloud nine for the rest of the day. Look out, world. Look out, ducks. We're going to get some things done. Appreciate it. And I look forward to reaching out to every one of you in the future. Jeff, I'll end up in your neck of the woods, and please walk me around, and I want to shake some hands. Okay.
Sounds great. We look forward to having you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I guess with that, we'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.